Cheers, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of my life. Now, I've been doing a few of these multi-year reviews, and I think I'm gonna do another one here for you guys with regards to home automation, aka Apple HomeKit, aka Google Assistant, aka the Whore Alexa, and there's a bunch of other kind of different ways you can automate. But I'm gonna focus on Apple HomeKit, because that's kind of what I tried to run with from the get-go, and I'll explain that it didn't work out that way in a little bit. But this is gonna be a general overview. I'm not gonna get into the technicals of all the products, but I will walk you through all the products. My home has a total of roughly 12 devices that are all connected to Wi-Fi in various ways. And if you're thinking about doing home automation, this is just going to be a general overview to give you an idea if it's right for you or not. It's certainly convenient in some areas, and it's certainly problematic in other areas, and I'll get into that in a second. But that being said, I'm sitting in my master bedroom here, and this is what kicked off my initial automation. This closet. This is the reason why I wanted automation. At the time when HomeKit was introduced and Alexa was pouring it up on Amazon, it seemed like the only automations you could do were a shitload of like 90s type disco lights, light bulbs, hue, multi-LED colors, and everybody was just running around their house during YouTube times, showing everybody what their crazy setup was looking like, right? So that wasn't practical for me. So this is kind of what I did with it. Now let's get to this closet here. I'm gonna walk in front of it. This closet is supposed to the light's supposed to automatically turn on. Let's try it, because this is gonna get into my, it turned on, holy shit. Okay, first complaint. Let me walk you through this setup here. So you can do automations. Automations you can get kind of technical with. You can get multi-devices kind of talking to each other, right? So this closet has a sensor sitting right here. This is just a Bluetooth sensor. It's for the HomeKit. I bought it a long time ago. It's had its new batteries. And that sensor senses me when I walk in front of the closet, right? Now, the reason I got it was because I put these beautiful doors in. They're not beautiful anymore, but the problem with these doors is they covered a light switch that was actually turning on the closet. So what I did was I replaced that light switch with a smart switch, which you're seeing right now. And then, so this automation is fairly basic. It's very basic. So this senses me. It tells this switch to turn on that light. And it's all wireless. I was actually gonna do it wired, but then this is why I jumped into the home automation thing, right? Now, I'm gonna, and I didn't catch it, but, sorry, it worked like it was supposed to, but I'm gonna say that 70% of the time it works like it's supposed to, 30% of the time, it's either got a 10-second delay or it doesn't turn on at all, which is super frustrating and annoying. And I can't figure out why. I played with it a few years ago. Can't figure out why. If there's anybody out there that can figure out why, please let me know. But long story short, Bluetooth sensor, switch, light, and it communicates back to a hub. And in my case, because I'm trying to use everything Apple HomeKit, it's an iPad. Now, you can use an iPad as your hub, or you can use, I think the home speaker you can use as a hub as well. And I don't know if there's any other devices that you can use as a hub nowadays. But one thing to note, if you do have an old iPad, check to see if it can be used for a hub, because I did have a really old iPad that was sitting in a drawer, and I'm like, shit, I can just use this as a hub. And sure enough, it didn't get any updates because it was so old that you couldn't use it with HomeKit. So check that. But yes, you will need a hub. That's basically on 100% of the time. It stays plugged in. I don't use that iPad at all. It's literally just the hub. You could use it, but I don't. So then what happened was, all right, so I got my closet figured out. It was working for a little bit, but it wasn't working. Then I moved on to an iDevice right here, which is a switch that controls, pardon me, close-up view of the knob, that controls this light, and it also controls my garden lights right here. Okay, cool, that works. I'll get into that in a second. Then I wanted to automate my outdoor garden lights. which are basically an old school system like this, which is super easy to do with this iDevice. I'll post any product that I talk about, I'll post in the link below. So that controls that. Now, that works, I'm gonna say, here's the deal with the outdoor lights, and I'll get to the back ones in a second. That device turns on the light 100% of the time, and it's been out there for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years roughly. Works 100% of the time to turn on the lights as it's supposed to. Whenever the sun goes down, it turns on the lights. Turning off the lights, however, it seems like it only works, I'm gonna say 95% of the time. For some reason, every couple of months or once a month maybe, the lights are just on in the morning, and I'm like, what the hell? They didn't turn off. And the funny part about that is, I have another setup right here of lights that are supposed to light up all this stuff, and they're talking to this iDevice, which is the same one in the front, and it's almost 100% of the time, the 3 iDevices that are controlling the lights, I have a total of 3, are all on at the same time. Sometimes there's like, 2 are on, sometimes one's off. It's really bizarre. Anyways, it's kind of annoying, so I want to mention it. It's not a big deal per se, but it is worth noting, and if anybody has an answer to that, I'd be happy to hear that one out. But so, going back to that outdoor lights, there was a problem that occurred when I bought that device. The problem was that my Wi-Fi did not reach all the way out there after the patio was put in. So I'm like, okay, cool, all right, well, now it's time for a new router or a mesh router. So I start deep diving all this router stuff, and I'm trying to find something that's kind of Apple kit, HomeKit worthy. And at the time, there was basically shitty options. So what did I end up having to do? I had to buy a Google device, which is right here. So I bought the Google Nest, which I'll show on the screen what it looks like on their website, and I'll post the links are down below. So what this does is, my main office way over there has one of these that's hooked up to my router, and that thing beams the Wi-Fi all the way over here, and this thing's basically like a repeater. They call it a mesh, Wi-Fi mesh. But anyways, it's basically takes the signal and beams it all the way around here, which extended my Wi-Fi all the way out to that switch. So now that switch works. So problem solved. New problem, not necessarily new problem introduced, but now instead of having Apple HomeKit, I still have Apple HomeKit, but all of a sudden Google Assistant got introduced into my system. So now I have 2. I have Apple HomeKit and Google Assistant, and I'm doing my damnedest to try to keep Alexa out of my house 5 years later, but it sounds like sooner than later Alexa's gonna get in. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to run with one device per se, or sorry, one system, it's probably not gonna happen. You might get lucky nowadays, but I had a hard time. It's still tough. I try to use Idevices as my main, I guess, switches and devices, because I found that even though they're the most expensive, they seem to be the most reliable, and I've had the best luck with them. So yeah, that's one thing I will say that's been good. Now, all right, let me take a beer break really quick. All right, so moving on. We're in the garage if you haven't noticed yet. Walking around, it's a nice tour, and this is gonna be quite the rant I imagine when I'm editing, but anyways. Then this got introduced into my life. This is the controller for my sprinklers. I have a total of 6 sprinkler zones that pop up around the house, and this is the controller. This is a HomeKit compatible device. So when I saw it on the box, I was like, hell yeah, Apple HomeKit, might as well get it. And I actually love that controller, to be honest with you. I have another video of a review of it when I was installing it. If you want to see it, I'll post it somewhere. But anyways, so it got installed, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now here's where the home automation thing kind of falls apart again, sort of. It's hooked up to my HomeKit. However, I can't really do anything in the HomeKit app, and I'll show you that on the screen if I can right now. What I mean by that is I can look at it at home in HomeKit. I can manually turn on a zone, but I can't do everything that the actual app itself does, which is my next point, is that although you have all this stuff hooked up to the HomeKit, largely, especially with complicated devices like that Rachio sprinkler thing, you have to set it all up in the actual Rachio app. So what I'm trying to get at is it defeats the purpose of the actual HomeKit app, even though it's connected to it. I can't do all the cool things that the Rachio app can do through the HomeKit app. Kind of annoying, but I get around to it. To be perfectly fair, when I say this statement, I'm largely not using the HomeKit app. I'm usually, if I'm using the HomeKit app, it's usually because the lights didn't turn off in the garden. So what I do is I wake up in the morning, I look around, I'm like, oh, God damn it, the lights are on. And then I go into my HomeKit app and then turn them off from there. I can get, if you name it properly, you can get Siri to turn it on and off as well. But gonna conclude here soon. I apologize about the rant. So now I have two systems set up. So my LG TVs, one here, one over there, and there's gonna be another one coming for the computer room, which will be a video in its own, whole office revamp. Subscribe and check that one out when it comes out, if it comes out. Anyways, my HomeKit basically controls the outside lights, the backyard lights, and then the closet. Now, because I introduced this son of a bitch right here, Google Assistant's smart enough to hook up to my LG TV and that one out there. And it's hooked up, but I don't use Google Assistant to control the TV. I find it bizarre and I don't need it. So yeah. All right, I'm trying to do this in one take. It ain't working. I forgot some stuff. My HomeKit is also hooked up to my Ecobee thermostat right here, and then I have another one in the master bedroom. Again, I don't use the HomeKit app to look at my Ecobee. I tend to just walk around the house and push the physical Ecobee itself if I need to change something. But it is all communicating, and is there a reason for it? Not really. I don't think it's needed. Easiest way to put it. All right, in conclusion, is home automation for you? I mean, I don't know. The whole video is basically just the general idea of how I use it. You might use it a different way. You might be one of those cool people that try to turn their whole house into a 90s disco when they walk in and set the mood and all that stuff, and turn on the coffee in the morning. If you can figure that one out, it's pretty easy, but that's my setup. It's basic, but it does everything that I want it to do. And it's largely surrounding the controlling of the lights. Anywho, I'd like to hear your thoughts on your automation systems, and what are you guys doing? What do you like? What don't you like? And we'll go from there. Cheers.